Hello, my name is DC. I'll be giving you match analysis for Chelsea versus PSG in the Club World Cup final. What a final it was! Funny enough, I actually thought PSG would win, but yeah. Anyway, let's get into this. Excuse me. And I've gone a bit too far. There's a particular something I wanted to. Yeah, here. Alright, so PSG here have the ball. And it started. This is what they usually do. So what happens is that, you see, he is pushing forward. The player here has to follow because if he stays, he gives him the space, but if he goes, he also gives this guy the space. So you might as well let that be someone else's problem and deal with what you can deal with first. So he pushes forward to try and block this out, and then Palmer here is also trying to block out the path to Mendes, and it's one of those when you are in this particular position, you're better off defending the center rather than the wing. The wing you can let it because the ball eventually has to find its way to the middle. But if you let it go through here, it just cuts straight through. Anyway, let's move on. As Mendes receives, he can see that pass. He already knows this. This is one of those things. It's one of those things whereby this this particular chance, yes, you see it once, but it's something that has been done many times in training. It's one of those whereby most goals that we see from set pieces have been scored over 100 times in training. So, he actually plays the pass to Dembele, but that little move did create the space because, as you can see here, he was drawn to it, and then it creates this space for the runner to run into space, and then for that ball to be played, and that's a lovely flick. So 3 players taken out, you have about 4 more. But let's see what ends up happening. He takes the ball, and what I do love is how he gets his head up immediately. And this late, it is a late run because at this point the Chelsea players are ahead, but because of he's on the blind side and he's running from the wing to the center, it's most likely that they will not see him. So here he has the ball, and this is a lovely ball. It really is, and because everyone's focus is on protecting this particular part of the pitch, Cucurella does not see this man coming through because it's also a late run. As the boys played forward, that's lovely. Cucurella does well too. He does well because he puts himself on the center, but at this point, Desiree Doué, this is okay. This is how PSG normally do. It's very rare they take shots from here. Most of their shots here. This is where most of their money comes from. This is where most of their shots are taken. Matter of fact, even just, yeah. This is where most of their shots are taken because it's straight at the goal. But this is where you need someone that's selfish. A clinical selfish striker, trust me, he puts that in the net because I don't see the point of passing to him because the angle is really on Desiree Doué's side. He does not take advantage of it. He tries, and the funny thing, he had the advantage of taking another touch to take it to the line so that he plays it across for his teammate, but he doesn't do that. That's why. Another thing that PSG are lacking is just that striker. Gonzalo Ramos is not it. Sometimes you just need the player, when he gets the ball, he shoots. He may not always score, but you create chaos, chances, and eventually goals. It's one of those things you just have to have. Anyway, let's head on to the next chance of the match, somewhere around here, with PSG again. Alright, so boys played here. And at this point, everything seems okay for Chelsea because if you look at this, they have a good line of defense. And then what Chelsea were doing at the certain points in the game, you find either Caicedo or Reece James himself would drop in. There were certain moments whereby there were almost 6 Chelsea defenders in one line, and then they were all defending. It's one of those, they were helping each other. Sometimes one person drops back and then they help out. Once again, Dembele has the ball. No one really, giving him that pressure of marking, but as you can see here, there's a very big gap. This is very, very big because there's a particular type of commitment that has gone towards this flank because we all know how dangerous PSG can be here because we have 1, 2, and then he's also gone there just to make it a bit closer. I think after this particular chance, that's when Chelsea started committing more men forward because gaps were starting to form because PSG started to stretch them. So you'd find Caicedo, Rhys James or even Enzo Fernandez will just drop in there, help out, and once that they deal with that particular phase of play, they drop back to. I mean, they go back to the original positions. All right, so Dembele here has the ball, and that's one thing he can do sometimes. He can just take it, and he didn't really do this enough in this game. Also because Chelsea marshaled that midfield. That's what I can also say. And then Cucurella here, it's like he sees this pass. He sees there's a possibility of the ball arriving here, and I think that's Nuno Mendes. He's a great left back, but I don't think these are the areas that suit him because he also does leave space in behind for the Chelsea players, to take advantage of. So Cucurella here tucks in because he's trying to avoid the ball being played through the middle, and then he's also aware that there's Desiree Doué, but he can deal with this. How not really this? How can I say? This he deals with this possibility by being there to back his teammate up, and then he doesn't mind that because eventually the ball has to be played, and he can probably tackle. And as he's moving backwards, Desiree Doué here. That's one thing I do like about Desiree Doué. He takes those shots, but problem is mainly on the wing. Usually just need someone, a central striker that will just whack them. And it's a good chance because he creates this himself. I know there's a ball played, but just maneuvering, moving his feet, shuffling, just to create that yard of space to take the shot. Sanchez, well marshaled, but it's funny how he saves this shot because look at that, boom. It's funny. Anyway, it's a good shot, but yeah, very comfortable for the keeper there. Let's head on to, let's see, should be Chelsea's first goal. Alright, so here Sanchez has the ball. And we all know, okay, there's a good amount of pressure being played, being put. There's one here, one there, one there, one there, one there. But there's just one thing about football that is just you can't really beat is how simple it can be. For all the tactics you instructed to these players to mark him and he make sure you leave enough space so when he gets the ball you track like this so that he's forced to take the ball. For all of this, there's a possibility that all of this gets beaten by a long ball. Someone kicking the ball very high and very far is what beats all of this. And that's how simple football can be sometimes. Poof! Now here, Nuno Mendes is actually in a very good position to deal with this, but it's one of those. He's in a team that values possession. So if there's a it's not like one of how can I say this? It's not like one of those defensive teams whereby they can kick the ball as hard as they can as long as it's out. They would look for a possibility to keep possession because here Nuno Mendes, as he's focusing on the ball, what he's trying to do here is keep possession because if he was serious, he could have power headed this ball outside. But there's something in his mind telling him, I have to keep possession. So that's why, look at the way he traps it also. The way he turned his head, he was looking to keep that ball, or he wasn't really looking to clear it. He was looking to stay in control of that ball. So that's really what causes that. And then I don't think he's good. This is just the first instant, but who knows? Maybe he's not that good at dealing with aerial balls. But there, if his main focus was just to get it out, PSG don't concede this goal. Then Gusto takes full advantage. Nuno Mendes wanted to play for a foul or offside. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. But he was down for a bit, but he tracks back because he's not getting that foul. Malo Gusto. What I do like is this, but now here, this flick that he does. And as a man called Cash has pointed out, too many steps for him to shoot the ball. What he needed to do, 1 foot you plant and then shoot, or at this point he's already sold that he's going to go for the shot. Immediately he does that, drag it back, take it to the line, have a shot, or just cross it in for someone. But then, if you look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 4v4. His attention is on the ball. So 2 players unmarked here. And then there's a player free, and it's the perfect angle for Malo Gusto to receive it in. Let's see what the PSG players do. Boom. Marquinhos reads this immediately because, as you can see, the way he's pushing forward, he's blocking that pass to Enzo Fernandez, even though it'd probably be offside. And then, yeah, it's a really good strike. Nothing Donnarumma could do. and the cold celebration. Anywho, let's head on to the next goal. Somewhere here. Alright, PSG have the ball. Now, this is one thing that surprised me the most because at certain points in the game, PSG stopped, how can I say this, PSG? Because at this point, I mean, there is this gigantic gap here. I mean, look, that's a gigantic gap. Kvaratskhelia, he could make a curved run. He could also make a curved run. And these guys, they're way too far. I do feel one can sacrifice going a bit closer here just to create some kind of superiority so they can play out of this particular, type of pressure. Because if you look, he's tracking, he's close with him, he's there, he's pushing forward. They're forcing PSG to do things they don't want. But I did feel like PSG were not moving the way they normally do when they're playing football. So this is what PSG were forced to do because that gap is still there. And this is why sometimes you need the striker because the striker makes that curved run and takes the attention of the defender. Dembele probably assumption. This is a scenario. Kvaratskhelia goes like that. Dembele occupies the space and then boom, just like that, he can create a run on goal. This is why you just need it's one of those things. Wingers, they're good at scoring goals, but there are just certain things that strikers do better. Because look at this. I mean, there's just no movement at all. And how do you leave your. Because he only has one option. And one thing I know about Luis Enrique, the way he is, you always have to have two passing options. Because this passing option here, too risky. He could get intercepted. And there are also three players around him. This pass, it's just going to be a back pass. You always have to have one to your left, one to your right. Or you can't have you can't have two options, but all of them are leading to the same side. You usually have to have one that takes you in a slightly different direction. And because of this, I mean, there's nothing much they can do. Because once again, he only has a few passing options. This one is a risky pass. It is a pass, but then again, it's also risky because if he doesn't play it quick, three Chelsea players around him, they can pressure him, and then he's forced to take a long ball. He's forced to do that because he has no other option that's close to him. And it's because they were so stagnant. I mean, he can afford to drop in a bit deeper. All of them could afford to go closer to the ball, but they just didn't do it. Anyway, let's play this forward. Chelsea take advantage. Boom. Knocks it down. I'm pausing because we're trying to avoid the copyright. Okay, yeah. Cole Palmer, all the space in the world because Nuno Mendes was trying to play as a winger rather than a fullback. Yeah, I understand he's attacking, but sometimes if there's nothing happening in attack, just go back and defend. I mean, because there was nothing happening. Everyone was so far away, no one really wanted to go and receive the ball close to them. And that's one thing. Look at that. That's a lovely ball. And the funny thing is that the defender, the person that's closest to Cole Palmer, could have actually dealt with this very, very quickly. I think that's Vitinha. Is it? I think it is. Because Cole Palmer here does the simplest. I mean, at this point, pressure. Because at this point, if he gets past you, you have cover. And there's a possibility you force him in an angle that he's not really comfortable with. But what you do not do is allow him to have the ball under no pressure at all. And then as you can see here, his teammate sees that he's got him on the rope. So you know what he does? Makes that run. Whether he receives the ball or not, that does not concern him. What it does is it forces the defender to make a decision. Do you try and intercept the pass or do you continue to mark Cole Palmer? Which brings me back to the other point. Always protect the center. This should always be protected. You're better off letting it go wide and then you have a possibility that you can try and block out the cutback and do something else, but always protect the center. But also he's a midfielder, so he's more used to cutting passing lanes and not really intercept. Maybe cutting passing lanes and intercepting, but such things, yeah, central defender would have probably just immediately, Cole Palmer was one-on-one, shrugged him off the ball, not do this thing whereby you're not really marking him, you're kind of just watching him. He tried to intercept the pass, that run, selfless run, he knew he wasn't going to get the ball, but fortunately enough, create space for Cole Palmer. I mean, look at this. One, two, three, four. Four players around Cole Palmer. None of them can do anything about it because he is too cold. And once again, a lovely finish. Oh, because, yeah, that was Vitinha. So there's a difference between marking. When you're a midfielder, the way you mark is different compared to a defender. Because when you're in midfield, there's always that assumption that there's a line behind you that can help cover. And there's always another thing when you're marking in midfield, if you just block out the person, they'll probably take it back. But when you're in defense, you're the last line. If he gets past you, go. So you're more aggressive. So I think that also factors into how Vitinha decided to let that get past him. Okay, let's head on to. I think this is also the next. Yeah, this is the next goal. All right, so Chelsea here have the ball. You know, it's now this again. All right, just for purpose sake, this is one line. One pass takes out five players. As simple as that. And at this point, they were 2-0 down, and they were still playing like this, giving me vibes of Ange Postecoglou. Because, I mean, at least I would rather just give them the space and end the first half on 2-0 rather than trying to force things. I think they should have considered that, okay, let's defend, let's end the half at 2-0, and then we see what happens in the second half. He gets the ball under little pressure, and because all four are in a line, no one decides to stay back or just drop back. Because, I mean, if really, I mean, just drop. I mean, there's a possibility they could have just decided, you know what, let's just stay. And then the funny thing is, this is how football is funny. 281 passes compared to 122, but at this point, Chelsea were 2 goals up, while PSG had 0. Passing without purpose doesn't really lead to anything in football. What matters is goals. Alright, so 5 players are taken out. Now, Nuno Mendes at this point should have fouled Cole Palmer. That's the only way this goal. One of the ways this goal gets prevented. I don't see the point in doing what he did. Because as you can see, the ball is driven, and that you could tell he had enough space to get towards Cole Palmer, foul him, get the yellow card, allow your team to come back and defend. Because it's just too many people behind the ball, and then you have another separate 5. No, foul Cole Palmer, do something else with the ball. And then this is another thing that I noticed when I was watching the highlights properly. Like when you're watching the match, I was mainly focused on how PSG were going to get back. But I mean, look at Cole Palmer. There's no one near him. He is running, and the problem is here. Nuno Mendes is more worried about intercepting this pass. What you do as a centre back is that you hold your line here, jog at a slower pace than the defender so that jog at a slower pace compared to the attacker so that you eventually meet at a point where you can tackle or you block out the pass completely. What you don't do is run away from the ball and, put yourself in more problems. Because when you run away from the ball, you're giving him space. And as we've noticed here, guess what? Guess. He's all alone, unmarked in between the two defenders. And his focus is towards Cole Palmer. And as a defender, you don't have that luxury of focusing on one thing. If you focus on one thing, something else behind you will happen. Only the attacker has that luxury. As a defender, you always have to keep these things in mind. And Nuno Mendes was in the best position because if he tried to intercept and then he got played past him, Gusto, yes, would have had the ball, but it would have been on the wing and someone could go out there to cover this. You've seen here at this point there were 2 players. One could move towards João Pedro in case that happened, and then the other could just stay to cover. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. They give Cole Palmer all the space in the world. And João Pedro makes this lovely run. And they just gave Cole Palmer too much space. No one is marking. Everyone is trying to intercept passes that are not being played. And they just played themselves. Lovely pass by Cole Palmer. Lovely run. Jackson would have missed this, but this is a delicate finish. Look at that. Poof. That's a lovely finish. Jackson cannot relate. And this is one of those games that I don't know. It doesn't really happen a lot in the modern game, whereby you just assign one player to mark Cole Palmer, because Cole Palmer is one of those players that what's that word? he enjoys free spaces. He enjoys roaming in space, and that's his thing. And sometimes he might look like a lazy player, but he is not. He is smart on how he decides to make runs and uses the ball and space. So if they just had one person to follow Kopam wherever he goes, this would have been a different match. Because you don't usually see those things, and I don't think it's the Luis Enrique way to play. But trust me, that would have definitely impacted how Cole Palmer played. And to be honest, I don't really see anyone in the PSG squad that could have done that because Vitinha would have been taken out. I think João Neves, but again, like I think Ugarte would have been the best player to do that man marking job. But that's sometimes why in football you have the flair players, and then you have, how can I say, brute force. These are players, they run, jump, tackle, they don't get tired, they do whatever the manager tells them. They don't have the flair, they don't have that much technical ability, but they'll always put in a decent performance. That's what you need, the balance of both sometimes. You need ruggedness. Alright, this is somewhere on the 10-minute mark. That's where the next phase of chance here. This is the. Okay, this is mainly about. Alright, so the defender looks like he's going to win the ball, right? Now, this was the funniest slide tackle I've seen in a while because look at the way he tackles the ball and look at where the ball ends up. He is running. I didn't click it. Oh, here. He's running this way. So the assumption is because he's running this way, if he's going to touch the ball will go that way. But look at what happens. This is the worst one of the worst slide tackles I've seen. I'm I've never seen such a slide tackle before. And Beraldo actually was lucky because he actually put João Pedro down in the first half, but the ref did not give that as a foul. I mean, that's one of the funniest slide tackles you ever see. Liam Delap, look at, and this is the difference between him and Jackson. Jackson would have fluffed his lines. Delap, the funny thing is that if it probably took another step, he probably gets past Donnarumma, but Donnarumma saves it. Yeah, it's funny how Chelsea bought Delap to replace Jackson and then immediately bought João Pedro to replace Delap. Funny, funny, funny business Chelsea are doing, huh? Alright, somewhere here. This is not really a chance, but a certain point I would like to highlight that about PSG in this game. I do understand it's late, but it's what I want to describe here is it's one thing that kept on happening during the game that PSG kept that it yes, this is a highlight from later during the match, but even earlier during the match is, let me just let it play for a few seconds. And then a few seconds. Do you notice it? Do you notice it? Let me play it for a few seconds more. This is what PSG were doing for a whole lot of the second half, even immediately the game started. So they were. This is the problem again when I mean, PSG have very good dribblers. They are very good. They are very good ball carriers, but you need help. Yes, someone can dribble and go all that, but it's not advised for this to be your only option. Gonzalo Ramos is a striker. We understand that. He can make that run. There's no problem. He can go forward. But Dembele can just step a few steps backward and help create that passing option for Bakola, maybe for the 1-2, or maybe he can carry the ball. Even I think this is João Neves. He can also, I think João Neves also. Anyway, this player here could also push there to go and help his teammate because you expect him to get past two, and then he's probably going to go and help his teammates. This is one thing that PSG were doing a lot in the game. They were not helping each other. They were expecting one person to carry the ball and push forward. They were not doing that thing whereby one person drops deep so that they receive the ball, create that extra passing option, and maybe try to drag the ball, or maybe they just do a simple 1-2. They were not doing that enough in this game. It was very frustrating because it was when a player reached this, it will eventually either they lose the ball or back pass, back pass, back pass, back pass. It was very frustrating because there were so many moments where they could have played the ball quicker. Because Bradley Bacola, I mean, there's only so much. And then what they do is that, yes, they do drag the players forward. They do drag them behind so that they create this space. but let's be reasonable. So you expect Bradley Bakolo to get past one, get past two. Caicedo will probably go there. I mean, that's just too much. I mean, you expect him to get past three players because everyone is in the box. Four players there, and then if you look, he has no other passing option. And then if you look at this is another problem of where a team that does it, that keeps a lot of clean sheets, struggles when they concede first or concede multiple goals because they don't have that in them to create another game plan. Because you can't really play the way you play when you're at 0-0 compared to when you're 2-0 or 3-0 down. Something has to change, and it changed, but not to the advantage because everyone at PSG eventually crowding the box, leaving one person to cross the ball or just try to dribble past multiple players really wasn't working out. I mean, there's only so much Bakola can do. Yeah, he does create some separation, but if someone just went closer, created a 1-2, they probably would have created a better chance rather than what they create here because this does lead to the chance, but the other instances where PSG were not helping themselves, it did not lead to anything. Because this is it's a ball, but at this point Chelsea do have enough men, and also they're fortunate enough the ball bounces off Gonzalo Ramos. Poof. Football can be very funny, and also the João Neves red card very silly. How it was even considered dangerous play, I will have no idea. And the halftime show was terrible. I didn't even know who was performing. And the lady that was supposedly dancing was just shaking. I don't know if she wanted to get down and start dancing. You know those type of dance that ladies do. It was weird. The halftime show was weird because it felt like it took some of the minutes of the extra time. Because it felt more like 15 minutes. I don't know. But otherwise, congratulations to Chelsea for winning the Club World Cup. One thing I don't like about this tournament, number one, how people qualified, because they're taking the achievements of the past 4 years. And I mean, who in 2021 would have assumed that in 2025 they would play a Club World Cup in which the rules are set up like that? Who in 2021 would have assumed that? Doesn't make any sense. And the fact that the champions of Spain, Barcelona, not involved in this competition, champions of England, Liverpool, not involved in this competition. Um, I'm surprised I didn't find Ajax. Was there any Dutch teams in this? I don't think there were a lot of. Was there any Dutch team in the tournament? I don't think so. I don't think there was a Dutch team in the tournament. I mean, it's really is confusing. Otherwise, the fact that it's going to be held again after 4 years, it's silly. I mean, the whole point of Club World Cup is every year simple tournament people play. No, let me not get into that. Otherwise, that's my match analysis. Congratulations to Chelsea, but this tournament has been funny. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.